This is the Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. Actionable advice from real life superheroes who, just like you, are in relentless pursuit of the best version of themselves. Join me as I interview the best of the best in business, sports, and life. All right, Matt Gouget, Get Better Everyday podcast. I'm excited to have Amanda and Kathryn on, Teetotalist owners. And I think we should probably start, if other people like me don't know what that word means or where it comes from, let's start there. What is a teetotalist?
Just to play off of the word teetotaler, originated in the early 1800s. Someone was giving a speech talking about how people should totally abstain from alcohol, and he had a stutter, so it came out as teetotally abstain, and so teetotalers just kind of became a bit of a movement, around the same time as the temperance movement, I guess. But it just kind of took on a life of its own. And so we thought that was a fun name for a space that's alcohol free. We know that not everybody that comes into it is sober or abstains from alcohol completely, but it's a space where you can do that.
Yeah, I love it. And as a, teetotaler or totally abstainer myself, it's cool to have a spot where you can go out and I like to socialize. I like to be around friends. I like to, do all the stuff that's generally done in bars. In a space where, I just happen to not drink. And I'm sure that you guys probably like me, I'm not offended by somebody who drinks. It's not a big deal, but this space is something special. So maybe tell me where it originated and, what went into creating this, which is the first, right, in Sacramento?
Yeah. It's one of few in the country. So
that's friggin' cool. Where did it start?
So I've been sober on and off for the last 4 years. Amanda and I got together, and it was, something that was mentioned, and Amanda decided to be sober last year, so we did that together. And Amanda especially is super social, and there was nowhere to go out that wasn't centered around alcohol, and so we thought that we would create the space.
Yeah. As you mentioned, it doesn't offend us if other people are drinking. I was just somebody who, in the beginning of my sobriety, had a hard time being around other people who were drinking. That temptation was there. And so I missed being out and about with people. And so we just kind of had this conversation with friends and family. And, the more we talked about it, the more common we realized that was. And we just felt that for people like me in particular, who still want to have a social life, you shouldn't have to sacrifice that just because you don't want to be around alcohol. And I know sometimes that can be self-imposing because you're the one who's removing yourself from temptation, but you should still be able to have fun and go out even though you don't want to be around that. So we had a few happy hours at home, and people liked the idea, and then we applied to the Calling All Dreamers program put on by the Downtown Sac Partnership, and that really kind of pushed us into making it a reality.
Awesome. So how new is it?
We applied for Calling All Dreamers in September of 2022. And at that point, it was only a few months old.
Yeah, so we had been talking about it for a couple months, as Kathryn said at that point. We did our first pop-up event in November. We did a second one in December for a few weekends, and then we now have our temporary space on K Street. We've been in since the beginning of January. So
awesome. Yeah. And it's crazy to think, being somebody who doesn't drink, I come across folks, whether it's at the gym or whether it's in business, and for whatever reason, it's oh, hey, let's go have a beer. Let's do this. And oh, I don't drink. And so the conversation, gears towards that. I feel like it's becoming more and more common. And so I'm surprised, honestly, that there's not more places like this, that they're out there. I'm sure they're coming behind you, but as an innovator in the space, or one of the first people in it, what's the long-term vision for the space and what you guys are doing?
I mean, we want to have an alcohol-free bar, a space where people feel comfortable. We have lots of events, pop-ups for other new businesses.
We have, our temporary space right now that is slated currently to end at the end of March. So we are in talks right now about a permanent location. So the goal is to have a permanent location locked in before our temporary agreement ends with our current space. So we have that to look forward to, whether that means staying in our temporary space until that one's built out, or finding a different solution. We'll know more in the next couple of weeks, but the goal is to have a permanent like bar you can come to, 4 or 5 days a week and grab a drink with your friends, listen to live music, attend trivia, just, with sans alcohol. So
Right. Yeah. That's super cool. And one of you is an event coordinator. Who's the event coordinator?
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my career for about a decade. I got into some project management recently, but still in the events realm. It's just something I've always been passionate about. I really enjoy creating experiences for people. And so this just feels like a great way to use my skills and my passion in, a different capacity. So
yeah, I could see that too, where like, besides being a bar, it's a place where people can hold events. And like you talked about, there's live bands, there's trivia, there's all the fun social stuff, just sans alcohol. That's pretty cool. Are you guys still working like day jobs and this is kind of a side project, or is this something where you guys are planning on going all in and burning the boats and expanding this,
So up until recently, both of us were working a 9 to 5, and the bar was kind of a side project. But Amanda last month decided to do this full time. So that's
yeah,
she's
yeah.
doing.
It's fun. It's fun to have this conversation at this time where you're like taking the leap, because I talk to people about my leap into mortgage from stable state job, W-2 benefits, just had my second kid, and I just knew I wanted to do something different. And I, took that leap and had a conversation earlier today with somebody who took a similar leap in a different industry. And, in that time, it's scary, right? And like, I can project, 10 years out where this stuff is just,
yeah,
popular and they're springing up everywhere. And I think it's cool that, this is the first one in Sacramento. You guys will always hold that title, right? As being the first one in Sacramento and paving the way for others. So I appreciate you guys doing it. I think it's super, super cool. What else you want to share with the Get Better Every Day podcast listeners?
I think something that comes up in a lot of conversations that we have with people is about being authentic and like being the truest version of yourself. A lot of people, myself included, have used alcohol, to mask things or to, kind of, change your perception or like deal with things a certain way. And so being able to be in a space where other people are also dealing with things authentically and are not, using vices like that is really important to us, that people know that it's like a safe space. I'm not really sure exactly how I want to word that, but
yeah. No, I totally get it. I think that's something that's like not talked about a lot, and like not to, this podcast would probably be too long. It'd be a counseling session with me, but like from age 13 to 31, that was the crutch. That was, what I used to escape, whatever I was running from in my childhood and then early adulthood and whatnot. And so, I'm sure there's a lot of bars in Sacramento that between I guess it was 2001, I turned 21. I won't name the bars that let me in before I was 21, but, I was out there acting a fool, having, conversations that weren't as authentic, like you said, as some of the ones that are going on when people are just, their true selves, scars and all, imperfect at all. So I think that's really, really cool. And I think that's something that everybody should be attracted to and lean into. To your point too, like not everyone that goes in there necessarily is 100% alcohol free, but like that's just an environment where alcohol is not the main attraction like it is in other places. So cheers to you guys for doing this. I think it's a really cool thing. I can't wait for the follow-up pod in a year or two, checking in on you guys and what you guys are doing. I'll have to, once you guys get an established space and start doing some things, hold some sort of event there, because I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
We actually have people reaching out all the time about hosting like company happy hours with us. So that's something that we're starting to get a lot of scheduled. People want options that aren't centered around alcohol, whether it's going out for a night or mingling with your coworkers or going on a date. You don't always want that pressure of alcohol. And if you're somewhere that's, a traditional bar or restaurant, that's just pretty much your only your only choices. So you know, we've had several companies reach out asking to do you know, happy hours so they can bring their employees out without alcohol. And I think that's pretty cool that that's becoming more normal.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
I think right now, like there's HR companies across the country that are like clapping their hands, right? Because there's company events where it's like, hey, listen, like let's set the precedent that none of us are going to act a fool. We're all representing, you know, whatever company it is. Literally, that conversation was had before, you know, the latest conference where, you know, let's not do something that we regret, right? And so I'm sure, you know, HR departments across the country are like, yes, this is the place to hold your company event where we don't have to worry about, you know, Susie from accounting or Mike from, you know, this department doing something that's going to reflect bad on the rest of us. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks guys. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch. I'm definitely going to come check you guys out one of these days, and then look at something in late 2023, some sort of event.
Perfect. That sounds great.
All right. Thanks, guys.